Audio check. PCA 2023 Drunk Chicken Cigars. Although the giant yellow chicken flipping an arrow sign was back in front of the Drunk Chicken Cigars booth during this year's 2023 PCA Convention and Trade Show, virtually everything else related to the company's booth.
And on that note, on this episode, we smoke the AJ Fernandez New World Dorado Robusto. I'm your host, Johnny Midas, and you're listening to Burn Line Podcast. Burn Line Podcast. The burn line on a well-crafted cigar is straight and sharp as a razor, much like our wit and wisdom. And good morning, everybody. I'm your host, Johnny Midas.
Hey, good morning, everyone. I'm your host, The Brick.
Good morning.
I'm dropping Nick.
The Brick works fine.
It's just The Brick.
The Rock, The Brick. You can't have too many words in your name. Like, the cooler you are, the less words.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like, The Rock is almost as cool as Madonna, right?
But not as cool.
Yeah, not as cool. Definitely not as cool. So, we are smoking the AJ Fernandez New World Dorado on Burn Line Podcast. This morning brought to you from the Hot Box, the smoky back room where deals are struck and fortunes are made, adjacent to the Blanco Cigar Lounge, nestled among the complex of rooms comprising Union Cigar, Hanover, Pennsylvania, USA. So, listener communications, have an email. I'm going to pull this up.
End the last show with one, start this show with one.
Yeah, end and start. So all you guys out there listening, this is from Angel. Can you describe the hand job with a little more detail? Thank you. Yes, Angel, we can. And I'm operating under the assumption that you were talking about tapping out the extra tobacco from the end of your cigar after clipping it. So here's what we're going to do for you, Angel, since you're so interested in hand jobs and how they're performed in the cigar smoking community. When it gets to the clipping segment of the show, we're going to walk through and verbalize that. I realize we don't have video. It can be hard to understand what we're saying, translating our motions into words. So we'll give you a nice detailed blow-by-blow of the hand job this morning. I mean, I feel like that's a fair email because
He wants to know about the hand job.
yeah, I mean,
That's cool.
you can't hear. I mean, you can't see audio. You can only hear it.
You can't hear the hand job.
It just sounds like
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah. It's just a real quiet hand job.
Yeah, definitely. So, all right. So we've got this New World Dorado from AJ. This is the latest, right, of his cigars, the most recent release from AJ.
Yes, I think to be fair and specific, the newest addition to his core line.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, shit, it's AJ. He has his hands on everything.
He's making one new thing a week.
Yeah. Okay, so a little bit about this cigar. We are smoking the Robusto. This is a 5.5 by 52. This retails for $12.50. If you pre-order a box of 10 at Union Cigar in Hanover, Pennsylvania, it's just $100.
Damn.
So
10 count.
For a 10 count. So
Yep.
that's Fernandez's newest New World stick. For $10 a stick, that's a pretty good deal.
Oh, yeah.
And we are smoking the Robusto Vitola. Love this Vitola. This is, to me, pretty close to the perfect size and particularly box pressed, right? So with a 52 box press, it's like a little more tobacco, actually. Mm-hmm. You know, for me, a 52 Robusto is like a 54 in a Parejo.
Can I write something down on your notepad?
Yeah.
I do want this to be part of the show.
Yeah, totally. So for you guys out there in audio land, our smoky back room is pretty freaking awesome. We have all of our equipment set up on a poker table. I've got an H6 collector attached to some Shure microphones. Actually, I think I'm using my Chinese knockoffs. Don't tell anybody.
I want to know which one you think that is. Which one is right? So I wrote down three of the same phrases.
Can I finish describing the room first?
I'm sorry.
Oh, no, that's all right. Okay, so meanwhile, it's okay. He's a little OCD. So we've on our poker table, we've got some coasters, my sunglasses, like 3 notebooks, pens, things that go jingle like keys. We have our custom cigar rest and ashtray that are hand carved from this red heart burl wood. So it's a pretty cool setup. Definitely kind of like, like a cigar lounge.
It has character for sure.
Yeah. And we've got our Burnline podcast, 24 by 24.
Watching over us.
Yeah, canvas on the wall. So that's pretty cool.
I still don't know what the eye is in the logo.
It's the ash line. Never mind. All right. So question from Nick. What is it? Boxed press, or box pressed? Well, for me, it's box pressed. BOXPRESSED, as in pressed into a box.
Okay, so all right, so that essentially is like a past tense of box press.
Yeah.
Like this cigar was box pressed.
Yeah.
But we also use it in the present tense to describe it as it is now.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. I think someone said boxed press.
And
actually that's not like all right, so if you press that with a box,
Yeah.
then it would be boxed press. Right? Right.
I think as long as you say something with a B and X, a P and an R, people are pretty much going to figure out what you're talking about.
But there's no, I've heard everyone say every different thing.
I think that's like nuclear, though. Like people know what you're talking about, but it's technically it's nuclear. Nuclear.
I can't believe you just
nuclear.
pulled a, what was he, 43? 41? President 41?
I'm pretty sure it started with like Richard Nixon, but yeah.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah. Nuclear. Yeah. Anyway, so we're smoking the Fernandez New World Dorado Robusto 5.5 by 52 box pressed cigar.
Let us know in the email if you think it's box press.
Boxed press or box pressed.
Yep.
Or something else.
Yeah, you're right.
D, none of the above.
Right.
So let's look at the presentation for a minute. So for those that don't know, this Dorado cigar is named after the Dorado farm, where most of the tobacco for it came from. So already immediately, I'm suspicious.
Don't be suspicious. Don't be suspicious.
I'm not scared.
Don't be suspicious.
Because just like, I mean, you can think of anything that grows in the ground. It doesn't come from one farm, right? Grapes, wine. They're not like blending it from one patch of ground. So could be interesting, could be dangerous. Who knows? It's an AJ, so I'm pretty sure it's going to be a good cigar. But,
So you doubt a little bit that it came from just one farm?
well, it didn't. It mostly came from.
Oh, is that how it's described?
Yeah.
Okay.
I just find it a questionable choice.
Well, it's his own farm.
Well, of course, it's his own.
I think he. This is also his newest. I think his newest farm.
Yeah.
At
And-
least one of the newer ones.
It's one of the newer ones. It's in Esteli, and it's named Dorado because the tobacco that grows there grows this golden hue.
Yeah, which is right up your alley.
Yes, absolutely. This is the cigar for Johnny Midas. This, literally, I should be sponsored by this cigar.
I think you should give into the lore and just say yes. All of this tobacco is from the Dorado farm.
Yeah, it's not, but
You should give in.
So the wrapper is gorgeous and golden, right? So the wrapper is a Habano Sungrown in Nicaragua, and the binder and filler are both Nicaraguan as well. So I would expect a stronger, spicier cigar on this. And I think the golden hue of the wrapper is really, kind of offset, captured by the rest of the branding. So there's a gold ribbon on the foot.
Yeah.
The AJ New World band in the middle is like all shades of gold with gold foil on the outside. The presentation box is a 10 count. The short and flat, cigar box, that's typically reserved for like higher end cigars.
10 wide with dividers in between
Dividers,
each cigar.
yeah. Divider in between each cigar. So, there's some really high end cigars that are sort of packaged that way.
Mm-hmm.
And, the numero uno that we smoked last week, for example, as well as, many Cohibas, et cetera, et cetera. So the presentation is kind of high end.
But he wanted to set this apart from the other New World line, for the
He
rest
did,
of the New
yeah.
World line.
Yeah, totally different packaging compared to the other New World line. So interesting, but the pricing is about the same. So, it's not a high end cigar. To me, this is sort of like when you get the top of the line Toyota Camry. Like, still a Camry.
Get out of here, dude. Come on.
Nick drives a Camry. It's still a Camry. It's a really nice Camry. Right?
Yeah. Absolutely.
So in the same way, like this has the bits and pieces, to make it look nice and be a cut above in the presentation, which I really appreciate without, breaking the bank.
Yeah.
So good presentation. I think the only thing for me is it might be a little overdone,
Really?
Yeah.
I think it's gaudy.
I don't know if gaudy's the right word.
So for reference, everyone, Johnny Mice is wearing on his right wrist a gold chain link bracelet, a ring on his right pinky finger and his right ring finger, and then a gold watch on his left wrist, and then a gold ring on his left ring finger. And he's criticizing the packaging of the Dorado.
I also have a gold chain around my neck, but I skipped the second gold chain bracelet.
Okay.
I just went with the Cuban link instead, and I didn't add the Figurado link today.
I think, dude, you got to rock with this cigar. I think you have to like
this is my cigar.
Yeah, I think this is
It has to be.
the official cigar of Johnny Midas.
It has to be.
Yeah.
It's named gold.
Right.
Oh, yeah. Dorado means gold, by the way.
Yeah.
Like El Dorado literally means the golden compass. Nick's Spanish is about as good as my Russian. It just means the gold.
Yeah.
The golden city.
I was like, what are you? Because I never
Compass.
want to like get on here and say, like, when you say something, I never want to get on and say, hey, dude, like, that was wrong. You're wrong about that. But I was like,
No, the golden compass is it's a kid's book, right?
Yeah.
There's like some closet and they go to this land of Narnia. And
it's basically like Narnia, yeah.
yeah, something like that.
No,
all right,
I'll-
enough fucking around. Why don't we clip this cigar and put it in our mouths? So we're going to clip our cigars, and as always, we remind you to clip your cigar with authority. Nice, smooth, fast clip. I am clipping with my Craftsman's Bench double guillotine open-ended cutter. For a $30 cutter, this is pretty solid. It's definitely in that interesting space where it's cheaper than the expensive cutters, more expensive than the cheap cutters. But
Craftsman's Bench is not a cigar company. They do tools, power tools.
do they really?
I don't know. What do they make? I'm asking.
Oh, I thought you were making that up. No, they're a either partnership or subsidiary with Davidoff.
Really?
Yeah, or they're distributed by anyway.
Okay.
So, yeah, you can't really get these places that don't sell. If I'm correct, I'll have to Google that later. 99% of the time, we're right all of the time. So, there is a ribbon on the foot. We're going to go ahead and remove that. Now your band here. This is a good 1.5 inch, I think, wide band, and I just noticed that it is incredibly easy to remove.
Yeah.
Right. So that's one thing that I like about this setup. Look at that.
There's one thing you like. It's taking the band off early.
I can take the band off before I light this. No problem. Doesn't affect the cigar one bit.
I hate that.
Not a speck of glue anywhere.
He
On the
just-
back, on the inside.
He just slid the. Is that Mr. Fernandez's signature?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm assuming it's a signature. I can't read it.
It's illegible.
It's illegible.
It's
Fernandez.
it's actually a misprint. Someone accidentally stepped on the printer when they.
All right, let's get this sucker lighted. And I'm going to go ahead and go through the hand job in great detail for Angel. So after clipping your cigar, you have two ends. You have the foot and you have the head. The head is what you clipped, right? And the hand job is for the head of the cigar. So turn the cigar so that it is vertical with the head down. Okay. Now, with your other hand, make a loose fist and try to pinch your thumb up towards your first finger knuckle, and that creates sort of a lump of skin kind of next to your thumb in that web, right? So that webbing kind of gets soft and lumpy. And then you're just going to bring the cigar down vertical, straight up and down onto that lump. And then when you see tobacco on the back of your hand, you just blow it, a little blow job right there, and then tap it again. What you don't want to do is put the tobacco back into the cigar, right?
Right. Yeah, if you're just bouncing it on tobacco, it's just gonna.
Yeah, tap and blow, tap and blow. Do not do this with a Cuban sandwich. You won't have a lot of cigar left.
You'll keep going permanent.
Yeah, it will keep going and going. And after a while, no more little flecks will come out. At that point, I typically give the head of the cigar one last blow, and good to go. So how that improves my enjoyment of the cigar is it keeps me from reaching into my mouth and scraping my tongue with like my thumbnail or something to get those little annoying specks off my tongue, right?
Which is like, it's an inevitable part of cutting and smoking a cigar, I guess, right? But it's if we can avoid it, we'd like to.
Yeah, or minimize, and then also it keeps them out of like my teeth.
Yeah.
If I'm meeting with somebody that I care about,
right?
So not Nick, but anybody else.
Say.
All right, so I'm going to light up with my single flame, soft flame butane lighter. And as always, we remind you to toast your cigar, not roast it. This is normally the part where I would insert some audio clip about toasted, not roasted. But I heard that somebody didn't like that. So instead, I'm just going to kind of do this sarcastic, monologue while I'm toasting up. Just kind of mentioning that there's people out there with opinions, and every once in a while we listen to them and change things up. But don't make it a fucking habit, because that'll just get annoying. I can't. So I'm trying to fill dead space right here, because it takes so long to properly toast a cigar, right? And we've mentioned this every week when I, cut the audio. Like, I'm cutting out chunks at time, because if you want to like really get that awesome first draw, like I'm still toasting with this single flame, right? I should just leave. I'm just gonna leave all of this in.
You should.
This podcast, because I want people to know, like,
Yeah.
Sometimes I would blow out first, just to make sure that I get any acrid smoke going the other way. Interesting. Okay, wow, that's really, really interesting. No, I did not. I did on my test cigar before the podcast, which, honestly, anybody that says they taste more than like raisins, I highly question whether they actually have the palate to taste that, or if it's their imagination.
I get like 1 in 75 where it's like something else jumps out. Mm-hmm. It's like super strong. Something. I smoked a My Father La Promesa one time. It had been aging for like 8 to 12 months in my humidor. Mm-hmm. And this was the most chocolate I've ever gotten from a cigar. It was unbelievable.
On a cold draw.
Yeah, on a cold draw. Yep. Yeah, it was unreal.
All right, so we've got both our cigars toasted up, and we put a little bit of ritual, I think, into what we do. And one of the reasons for that is if you clip your cigar properly so that it's not kind of unraveling in your mouth, and you tap the extra dottle off the end and you toast it slowly, the first couple of puffs are amazing. Partly because you have a fresh palate, right?
I think I'm going to take that to my grave, man. I think so.
I do as well.
Yeah.
But you have to toast it slowly.
Yeah.
Like, think about think about it this way: the rest of the cigar is slowly combusting as the cherry heats the tobacco up. So half an inch away from the end of the cigar right now, right, that tobacco is slowly warming up, and you can see it in a box press because like the last half inch is actually round,
Right.
Because it's expanded,
Right.
So you have to heat up the first part as slowly as if it were being heated up,
Yeah.
smoking the cigar. If you do that, it's amazing.
Yeah. I mean, I think that the same, a lot of the same principles that come to burning tobacco come with cooking food as well. Mm-hmm. Or you're not going to put a cake in the oven at 700 degrees for 3 minutes, which is the equivalent of taking your 4-torch burner and blasting it.
Right. Instead, it's 350 for 45 minutes.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. You want it slow and steady. Just get it warmed up. Get everything kind of. I mean, it's a chemical reaction that's occurring.
Yeah, heat control. Well, and then here's like the other side of it is the industry standard, right? The cigar smoking standard is you just light it with a torch and then assume that the first few puffs are going to suck. Right? That's the normal way. I'm talking about people that are in the industry. This is how they light their cigars.
I don't know why.
I mean, I have seen guys, like names that I'm not going to mention on the podcast, right?
Yeah.
Big names in the industry. I have seen them jam a fucking Zippo into a cigar in Mesoamerica.
Yeah.
Fucking suck that flame right into the cigar after chewing the end off, right?
Right.
And they shrug and they're like, it's a cigar. I'm like, I mean, it's true. Like, they smoke a bajillion of them or whatever.
Right.
So there's not a wrong way to do it. Do it however you like. But if you want to have that first puff goodness, you got to toast it super slow, so you're not scorching it and getting that acrid smoke. And when you do that and you have that first draw or two on that unmolested palate, it is a freaking amazing experience.
I think so, man. I really agree.
Okay, so I've had a couple of puffs, and there's some interesting stuff going on here. So first, the draw. The draw is surprisingly open.
Yours is open.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Mine is not.
So you have a tight draw?
Yep.
So my draw is surprisingly open. For a 52 box press, the part that is combusted turns into a parejo.
Show me the
box
cap.
press.
Show me your cap.
There we go. Let's compare caps real fast. I don't think you clipped enough off, honestly.
All right.
And you got some spit in there. I would give it. You want to give it another clip?
No. Leave me alone.
Okay. I'm just asking.
I don't even know what cigar you're smoking.
That's because mine doesn't have a band.
You could have
smoking his with his band on.
You might be smoking a Padron right now.
I saved mine because it's gold, so I'm going to put it in my collection of gold stuff. So yeah, it's surprisingly open. I'm not sure I like it. I like a little resistance on my draw. I'm hoping it'll tighten up a little bit. That happens a lot with box press, where it'll tighten up a little bit after you smoke it. So
I agree with you, though. I think I could cut it a little. I think I cut it a little shallow, but I like to err on the side of shallow as opposed to cutting too much off in the beginning. You can always cut more, but you can't.
Well, especially on a box press.
Yeah.
If you cut off too much, it's very easy to do.
Yeah.
So it's an interesting stick because definitely full-bodied, but I think I would peg the strength at medium. And what I'm tasting right now is bizarre. So there's cedar, right? Does that sound right? Tasting cedar?
Yes, absolutely.
I would almost call that the carrier note.
Yeah.
And then there's like, if you took homemade white bread and you took the crust off,
Okay.
and then you salted it liberally,
All right.
and then you spanked it with a leather belt and rolled it in some fresh topsoil. That's what I'm tasting. On top of that, everything tastes like there's a coating of charred red pepper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That
So-
sun-grown Habano.
Yeah, so it's super interesting because I'm taking in a mouthful of smoke, and it's, like I said, it's a full body, but it's a medium strength. Right, I'm gonna take a puff right now. And if you release the smoke after it's gone, you can literally taste red pepper on your lips, on your palate. And if you retrohale, God bless you, because that is a spicy retrohale. And you know I like to retro. So, really interesting.
I kind of want to go through. I think it'd be a cool journey to go on with our listeners to, I don't know, develop our palates as well. You're pretty creative with the rolling up some fucking sourdough in a fucking dirt pile.
Yeah, sourdough in a dirt pile.
All right, so is this sweet to you?
I don't know. It's really interesting because there is a sweet component there, but it's not sweet like sugar. It's sweet like white bread or, something that is sugar adjacent. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Is it sour?
So I'd have to say that there's not a noticeable sour component. I do think, when you think of cedar, that has a, like a sour side to it.
It does, yeah.
But it's not sour like a fucking lemon.
I feel like all wood kind of has a little bit of hint of sour.
Yeah.
It's like when you used to peel bark off the tree as a kid and you saw the green stuff.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah. And it's that like in the flavor wheel, sour and bitter kind of touch each other at some point.
Yeah.
And it's closer to that touch point, right? So you have salted sourdough with earthen leather. I'm surprised by the saltiness of the component, and then the finish is it's charred red pepper. It's like you took red pepper and threw it on the grill. It's a really interesting flavor.
So all right, so would you describe this cigar as peppery? I would not.
I wouldn't either.
There is undoubtedly pepper in the flavor, but it is not peppery.
It's the aftertaste.
Yeah.
Like, it's not in the smoke. If you retrohale, you're definitely going to feel that pepper. But I'm literally, like, right now, I'm, like, smacking my lips. There's, like, a pepper flavor just from, smoking it afterwards. But when you're drawing it in, it's much more sweet and mellow, honestly, with some of those, like, robust cigar flavors you kind of expect from Esteli, like the leather and the earth.
Yeah. Barnyard, earth, leather, must. I think it's supposed to be musk. Must?
Must is barnyard. It's like musty.
Yeah, okay.
So plume.
Yeah.
If you've ever seen plume on cigar, like that is a musty smell.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Musk is what comes out of the glands of certain animals, like musk oxen and otters. And some humans I know.
Must is my over humidified basement right now.
Yes, yeah.
That tends to flood a little too much.
Yeah, that's must. So most of the tobacco is from the Dorado farm in Esteli. The blend is produced in the San Lotano factory. So of course, San Lotano is a AJ brand that's in Ocotal. And of course, the cigar, the Dorado, is named after the farm, Dorado, which is named after the color of the tobacco, which is golden. And this is a golden cigar. And so, with all apologies to AJ, I'm going to name this the unofficial official cigar of Johnny Midas. I mean, it's a gold cigar.
New World El Dorado JM.
Yeah, what is that? I'll get with him on a collab.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, we'll get
Just
a collab going.
Call him up.
Yeah, I'll call him tomorrow. I've got him on speed dial.
El Dorado's a pretty popular
Central
America. Yeah. It's like this. The theory is that there's like a city of gold somewhere.
Yeah.
And like these explorers around the 1700, 14 to 1700 basically, were looking for the city of gold to get rich.
Right.
It's like the crypto. It was like the crypto of
it was totally
1400s.
1400 crypto, man.
Yeah.
It's a gold city. We could totes find it, man. Yeah, so Your Majesty, if I could just have a couple ships and and soldiers and
right. I swear Bitcoin's going to the moon, sir.
This El Dorado's so valuable, you should give me your money so I can go find it. Totally. It's exactly what crypto is. Right?
Exactly, man.
This crypto's so valuable, you should give me your cash so that I can give you crypto.
Right.
Yeah, it's like those late night infomercials like, buy gold from us. Now, wait a minute. You keep telling me how the dollar sucks and I should buy gold. So how come you want my dollars so you can give me your gold?
Right.
What's the deal there, man?
Yeah.
Yeah, so probably the best shitty movie I've ever seen. I mean, it's a terrible movie. It's just terrible. Is The Lost City of Zed, and
Oh, was that Tom Holland?
no, Lost City of Zed has Charlie Hunnam from Sons of Anarchy. It's a historical like docudrama about this explorer who's looking for this lost city in Bolivia. So like Bolivia and Peru and Brazil like all come together in this one basin area, and that was the seat of the Incan Empire. And so those are kind of arbitrary lines on the map, right, for those countries. So where they all come together, there's a lot of myth and lore there, and kind of where he got in trouble. So if you want to learn about the history, of El Dorado and stuff like that, it's a great city for that. As far as the rest of the movie, it's just terrible, like, and it skips whole years, like in the middle of the movie.
Why Zed?
I don't know.
What is that? Z?
Yeah. Oh yeah. In Britain they call ZZ.
Yeah.
Yeah. But so but here was the historical significance. The historical significance was, the Europeans were basically raping and pillaging the New World, and their argument was, these are less evolved humans,
Right.
and they're being displaced by more evolved humans, and they can adapt or they can die out. And the whole manifest destiny, all of that, it was really predicated on a faulty appropriation of sort of Darwinianism, right?
And religion.
And religion.
Yeah.
All of it got co-opted by greed and power. As typically happens, new ideas come out and they're sort of immediately co-opted. The Third Reich did this as well, right, with their eugenics and their just hideous treatment of other humans.
Yeah.
Supposedly based on science type of thing.
Right.
And so this explorer, like his whole argument was, I found ruins that are similar to those in Egypt, and this is a high culture that can produce this kind of stuff.
Nice.
And he was, pretty much like
Wow.
shunned and shut down.
So he was advocating for the natives.
Yeah, he was. And also, kind of fighting this battle of, here's what I actually found. Like, I actually found pottery. I actually found stone structures. And
So he was fighting propaganda, basically.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because like in the home countries, it was all, we're doing this because this is right.
Yeah, well, that was the propaganda. They were really doing it for rubber.
Yes,
Right? It was a huge battle over, that resource. And, they kind of felt justified in, conquering and enslaving and, all of the sort of adjacent sins that go with colonialism. But it was all for money. It was for rubber, really. So if you want to catch up on the history, that's actually a great movie to do it. I think the rest of the movie, it just sucks. It's a horribly told story. Everything about it is terrible, except Charlie Hunnam, because he's a pretty good actor. But you can't outact a bad script. So, Lost City of Zed. Hashtag not sponsored. Okay, so we've got some good tastings. I'm really intrigued by this cigar. Like, it sort of has me, captivated a little bit. Like, it's different. It smokes different from the other New World line. This is not like, oh yeah, this reminds me of fill in the blank. This is definitely a unique blend, and I love the fullness of the flavor and body, where like there's so much to play with there, and like the initial draw compared to like after you exhale is so different.
Yeah, it's from draw start to finish, it changes, which is cool. Yeah, it's not the same. This is one where the retrohale is pretty important, I think, to get the full effect.
Yeah, I think without the retrohale, like the body is mid full.
Yeah.
It's there. There's a lot of body to it. With the retrohale, this is full. But again, the strength is just medium. It doesn't have that nicotine kick or real strength to the cigar. It's kind of medium strength.
My burn's great. The draw is still a little tight, but it's not like tight where, dang, your draw is freaking.
Look at this burn line.
That's
man.
nice.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, ash is nice. That's pretty well constructed.
You've been touching it up over there, haven't you?
I have not. I have not touched it up once yet.
When your cigar looks like you've been touching it up because it looks so good, but it's just been burning like that from the start. It's because you properly toasted that shit, man. Good
That is
job.
a huge contributing factor.
Good job.
Like if you get one side hot, you end up with that
Yeah.
little spoon.
Yeah.
Spoon in the side. I'll also say that I have a habit that I've just developed over, 20 years of this hobby, where you'll notice like every couple of puffs I'm rotating it. Right. That's one reason that I dislike box pressed is most of them only fit in my mouth one way. With a Parejo, I can turn it a quarter turn, an eighth of a turn, whatever I need to keep
Right.
that burn line straight.
Yeah.
Harder to do with a box press.
Yeah.
But I'm making it work, and this is more of a square box press. I don't know if you've noticed, Padron especially, but a lot of box presses they're actually like a rectangle, not a square.
Yes.
So like if the rectangle's vertical, I can't get a good lip seal.
Right. Yeah,
Like,
because
I've got these big, sexy, fleshy lips.
holy fuck.
But I got hit in the mouth with a hockey stick when I was younger, and so they're nice and big and puffy because they're full of scar
Yeah,
tissue.
right.
So I can't wrap them around.
You're broken.
Yeah, I am all over.
And it's time for this week's Tobacconist Tip of the Week.
Go ahead, Nick. And now your tobacconist tip of the week with Nicholas McCann.
So the Tobacconist Tip of the Week this week is listen to the Tobacconist. Jeez, Tobacconist Tip of the Week. Listen to the Tobacconist.
That's not self-serving at all.
No, jeez. If you don't listen to my recommendations, then I become obsolete and I don't have a job. So please listen and ask me for a
Help
recommendation.
Nick keep his job.
Yeah, ask any tobacconist on staff here, on staff at your local shop. Get to know, let them get to know your palate and your preferences, and get to know theirs as well. Really, because you're not going to take recommendations from the guy that likes
Acids.
Sure. If you're the guy that does not like acids.
I'm never gonna not pick on acid, so that's a me problem. I have a deep psychological issue.
Yeah.
No, I appreciate that recommendation, Nick, and here's why. Like, as we kind of do our hobby, of course, we're developing what we like and stuff like that. But there's a really good chance that your tobacconist has smoked a fuck ton more cigars than you have, and is also, like your job as a professional.
Much smarter, better looking.
Yeah, totally. No, but your job as a professional is to know the flavors and the blends and stuff like that. And so, here's a classic, right? I hear this all the time. I'm sure you do. Someone comes in, they're like, I'm looking for a Cuban.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, go to Cuba.
Right.
Well, but what's similar, right? Like the Deus de Gloria, love
Right.
that one.
Your favorite Casa.
Casa de Cuba.
Yep,
You
yeah.
know? So there's a few out there that are intentionally, trying to capture the Cuban experience. Actually, the Havana Q
Yeah.
by what is it, Quora?
Yeah, JC Newman, yeah.
Yeah, like that J.C. Newman, super inexpensive. I think that's a Cuban sandwich, right? That's how they keep the cost down.
I can't, off the top of my head, I don't know that for a fact.
Yeah,
Sorry.
but it's a inexpensive cigar, and you can tell when you smoke it.
Yeah.
But it definitely has that light floral, aromatic, flavor that's associated with like the Cuban cigar experience.
Right.
It just has way less nicotine than a Cuban cigar does.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like, I don't know, like Impossible Meat.
Yeah, yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it's like the Impossible Cuban, right? Where it's not Cuban tobacco, but it tastes like Cuban tobacco.
Right. But that's an example of, where on a regular basis you're having to use your experience and palate to help people find something that's going to satisfy. And so if you're like experimenting as a cigar hobbyist, just tell your tobacconist, like, here's what I like, what do you recommend? And then try something new. We talk about experimenting a lot on the show, and that's a way that you can, it's less of a like gamble, roll the dice type of thing.
And one of my biggest pet peeves too, when I'm on duty, and just as a cigar consumer that knows how much good stuff is out there, is when someone comes in, and asks for one cigar, one blend, and then will leave because the store doesn't have that blend.
Sure, yeah.
It's like, all right, like I had someone come in and ask for a Gurkha Grand Reserve, and I said, I'm sorry, I don't have that cigar.
Right.
Is that your favorite cigar? I was trying to get them to tell me what they like about it, and he said, yeah, I pretty much only smoke those. I said, why? What's like? There's a lot of good stuff out there.
Most of them are not Gurkha Grand Reserves, but go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, and we can appreciate, obviously here we have our preferences at Burnline, but
Yeah.
like, geez, if you ask me, hey, what are some cigars you like, man? I could go on 100, 125, 150 cigars
Right.
that I like. Like, it's so expansive now,
Yeah.
the different types and the different cigars. So limiting yourself to one, you're doing yourself a disservice.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and even if you have a specific flavor profile you're looking for, your tobacconist can help you branch out with something that's similar. And who knows, you might find a new favorite.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, I tried that Purple People Eater this weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Good cigar, too strong. My usual complaint with American cigars.
Really?
I mean, I think, I've told this story. Like, I've smoked my way around the humidor, and I do smoke a lot of strong cigars, but my personal palate, I've really settled into that, Cuban-esque niche. I like the lighter floral aromatic but strong cigars. That's just my palate preference.
Did you smoke the pizza?
I did smoke the pizza.
That cigar was awesome.
What's with the little Super Mario flower thing on the side of the band?
It's called like Focia Sarda or something like that. I don't know what that means. I put it in our system as pizza cigar because I didn't want our guys to be.
I mean, it has a couple slices of pepperoni on the band.
Yeah.
So, pizza cigar.
And I don't know, like LCA. We'll do an episode on LCA and Bravada.
Totally. Yeah.
But it's like I was reading the description that they sent out like a couple weeks before the release, and it was like. It was like, everyone likes pepperoni pizza, right? Well, then you'll love this cigar. What do pepperoni pizza and this cigar have in common? They're both flavorful.
Right.
What is going on?
Yeah, like they have always had a little element, like a sarcastic streak.
Yeah,
in
right.
Their production. Yeah, that's one of the things I like about LCA is like they're not snooty. They're kind of a little trolling.
Right. Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Community.
Yeah,
right?
for sure.
I love that. Love that part of it. Yeah. So I guess I'm an inch into this cigar. I'd say the salted bread component is still really huge. I think the cedar has dropped off a little bit. Definitely like earth loam and a little bit of leather there. Really good smoke output on this cigar.
Dude, I think this would go so well with a bourbon.
I think it would. I was just thinking like that
Yeah.
salty. If I could mix that with a slightly sweet caramel flavor like you get in bourbon.
Yeah.
Oh, it just seems like it would hit.
And then this sweet, like the cedar sweet, and then the spice on the retro for this would go really well with like a sweet but a little hot bourbon.
Well, I think it would. Like I think the bourbon would cool it down and heat it up all at the same time.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Wowie.
We'll
Yeah.
have to do a pairing. Like with that Weller Special Reserve, the weeded bourbon's a little sweeter.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I bet you that would really hit. So this week we're talking about steps in the cigar making process. So, we enjoy this beautiful finished product. I was talking to somebody in the industry about a specific cigar, and they were talking about, how the tobacco in the cigar we were smoking was about 9 years old, right? And sometimes we forget, like, these are years old products, like with wine, there's a vintage, right? And it's not necessarily better with age. It's easy to spoil wine over time. And the reason that they will save older wine is because it was a really good year. Right?
Yeah.
It's something that grew in the soil. It's subject to weather. And even some of the, with climate change, some of the regions that were famous in the 1940s for wine don't produce great wine anymore, right? And so the older bottles, command a premium. And then, of course, the rarity factor. And then with whiskey, how long it's aged and stuff is specifically, a selling point and a price point. With cigars, there's a little bit less of that, even though it's a natural product that grew in the ground. And so we forget even just your everyday smoke cigars, like that tobacco's old. It might be 3 years old, from when it started. So what are the first steps to making a cigar? Well, you plant the seed. Now, that's already skipping whole steps in the process, right?
Yeah.
So
What seed?
yeah, exactly.
Right.
So just like any other vegetal nowadays, right? You have heirloom seeds and you have hybrid seeds, right? And then once you have a hybrid, you keep hybridizing the same hybrid. For those of you that aren't familiar, with husbandry, you can't grow a hybrid from a hybrid. Like they go sterile after a generation or two, and the next generation's worse. The third generation's even worse, and then there is no fourth generation.
Can you tell? Maybe we both can tell our folks why you would hybridize a seed, a tobacco seed.
Oh yeah, so the old-fashioned version of hybridization was breeding, right?
Yeah.
Like there's this breed of bulls in Spain or something that look like fucking bodybuilders.
Yeah,
and that's
yeah.
because for like hundreds of years they've only bred the most muscular.
Right,
version.
because so the bottom line is they want to isolate certain traits
That's right.
and make them dominant genes
Right.
to pass down from seed parent to seed parent.
Right.
So like I know a lot of them will get hybridized in and out due to like susceptibility to mold or durability in the field because some of them like if they didn't get enough sun,
They're going to catch something.
right, yeah, or if it's too humid,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So hybridization is like a scientific process of modifying the genetics of the plant without going through generations of breeding, so you can get it right away.
And that's I think that like the mold example is one that we don't think of because we don't care about what you do when it's growing.
Right.
But then obviously like certain traits like color, texture, taste, right, are other reasons why growers will hybridize tobacco seeds.
So you've got, what is it, Criollo 97,
Yep.
Corojo, I think 98 is the really common one, but there's a 2001 and
Yeah, there's a Habano 2000.
yeah.
Yeah.
So these are some common hybrids. So yeah, there's actually the process of hybridizing seeds or preserving heirloom seeds, which is it's so in depth. Like there's so much work that goes into that. No wonder they hybridize.
Yeah.
So you have like actual laboratories.
Oh my
and stuff
gosh.
for this.
Yeah. Full blown science.
Full blown science. And then a tobacco seed. I don't know if anyone like Google it, but a tobacco seed is really tiny. And it's not like a watermelon seed.
Right.
And so you take this tiny seed, and if you've ever gone to Lowe's and gotten like these herbs that have just been started for you, you'll have a tray with like 8 little, almost like popsicle sticks, or like how you would freeze popsicles,
Right.
I don't know if they still do that, but when I was growing up, you had like the little rubber tray,
Yeah.
or like an ice cube tray,
Right.
And there's earth in each of those little cubby holes.
Yeah.
And they'll plant one seed in there, right? And I've seen like a machine that has like this little needle almost that comes down and sucks up one seed at a time and goes over and plants it in this tray. It's pretty cool. Like I said, a far cry from like our romanticized version of cigar making, where it's like, some indigenous, peoples walking around, with like hand tools and like, poking their finger in the dirt and putting a single seed in there with like a minnow
Right.
and covering it up,
Right.
and carefully watching. Yeah, you're not going to make a lot of cigars that way. you know? And here's your one cigar that we got out of the crop this year.
Yeah. I don't want to get too technical too, but that's I guess what you're describing is germination. That's like the process of it going from seed to basically sprouting a little bit out of the ground. And so that period can take, I think, like upwards of a month and a half.
Yeah.
Which is like, all right.
Yeah, 6 to 8 weeks.
Yeah.
And by the way, talking about the hybridization process, one of the things that they hybridize in is a faster germination and growth process.
Yeah.
More crops per year.
More efficiency.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So planting the seed and letting it germinate in its little cluster of earth right there, and then those sproutlings are then transferred. Many times they're transferred to a larger pot in a greenhouse. They're very rarely planted out in the field yet.
Yeah, it's because I guess the chances of them being in the field and falling victim to
Predation,
weather, animals, anything,
all of that.
is a lot higher. But if you have it in a controlled environment, right, the chances that it's going to germinate, sprout are much higher.
And then once it's large enough to be robust out in the field, then it gets transplanted out into the field.
Yeah.
Right. So, really similar to tomatoes or a lot of other agricultural products. This is not a crop like corn, wheat, soy, where you just scatter seed and play the numbers game. Right.
Yeah. They're really trying to take the guesswork out of,
Right.
Because like at the end of the day, it's a business.
And then also in the planting, right? So you've got your germination process, and then you've got your growth. All of this is typically like indoors in a greenhouse, and then you transplant, and that's usually called the planting, right, out into the field. So you plant out in the field. You want to put them a certain distance apart because remember, the sun on the leaves is a critical part of getting great tobacco.
Yeah.
Right. If you were just scattering seed out in the field, you'd actually have to weed out some of your tobacco plants, right? Because they'd be too close together. You never know which ones are going to catch,
right,
and sprout and grow up. So you're spacing them out and stuff like that, and then the tobacco grows, right? So you've got your watering and stuff like that happens, and the sun is working its magic in the leaves, and then there's the harvesting. So you have your upper, middle, and lower primings. Typically, your primings are harvested from the bottom up, and the Dorado and all of your Ligero is left on the stalk the longest. Sometimes, like, it curls down around the stalk. It's left on there so long, it's they're turning to leather on the stalk. So there's the harvest, and then
two things real quick.
Yeah.
So first thing, there's this thing called stalk cut,
Uh-huh.
which I love, and it's when instead of taking the plant, the leaves priming by priming, they cut the whole plant down at once, which is really cool. And then there's also this trend going around called Dorado right now in the industry, where like at the top of the tobacco plant, if you let it in the ground for long enough, like flowers will come out of the top.
Right.
And
There's flowers at the top.
Yeah, and so there people are using a method of growing right now where they're waiting for the flower to sprout, and then they're cutting down the tobacco, and so it's pretty interesting. You'll see cigars called Dorado sometimes now, and that's what they mean. It describes the harvesting process.
Yeah. Yeah, and traditionally the flowers are actually not allowed to grow. Right? They're clipped off. Because
Correct, yeah.
It's kind of like castrating a steer, where it, if you leave the flowers on, it changes the flavor. Right? That's the sexual reproduction part of the plant, and they release a lot of hormones and stuff into the plants. Right? So you get a different flavor from that. So it's not just a marketing gimmick. It definitely does change the flavor of the tobacco.
I apologize. Dorado refers to the deflowered plant.
Right.
Yeah.
So deflowering the plant does change the flavor.
Yep.
And then the tobacco that's harvested is bundled and cured. Right. So this is the magic stage. Right. This is where a lot of the flavor happens in the cigar, as well as the really the physics and dynamic of the leaf. So with the wrapper, this process is what gives it its characteristics and can make it harder or easier to wrap around a plant, right? And we've mentioned like some of these Maduro leaves they use as wrappers. They'll grab the leaf, you always like coat it in water, right? And you can almost stretch it like fruit leather.
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't do that with a Cameroon leaf.
No.
It will just tear in half, right? So you have the curing process, and then you have the fermenting process, right? So the classic pallets of leaves called pilons. It's much more modern. Like, there's still people that do it that way, but you have these like giant hamster wheels now, and they'll put bundles of leaves on them.
Yeah.
They have temperature sensors.
Yep.
And when the temperature gets to a certain level, like the whole wheel spins and all the tobacco flops over and cools down enough.
120 degrees in those piles.
Yeah, like, so they will catch fire if you just leave them, just like compost.
right.
So you can't let them get too hot. And then at that point, you've got your tobacco that's ready to make a cigar. Right?
Sometimes after fermentation, it's baled and put in a room.
Yeah, to off
for
gas
years.
Yeah.
For years and years, and especially if it's a crop that like a blender wants to do something special with, they'll like put it away for a long time, and so then you'll just like there are rooms in these factories to which I've never been, but would love to go one day, that have just like stacks of like burlap sacks basically, that are tied together, and it's just like a 100-pound bale of tobacco, just stack.
And was it Rocky? Somebody at the trade show just announced they're doing a vintage 2013, I think.
Yeah, I mean that's going to refer to the harvest year, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Right. And all that tobacco was just put away and has been sitting there for 10 years.
Exactly.
Right. So pretty cool.
Two more anecdotes like that. Placencia has cosecha 149 and 150. 146 and 149, and those refer to the harvest years of the crop. So Placencia from 1865, right, 146 years after that, they harvested the crop in 2000 whatever, and then that's what they called the cosecha means coseca. I don't know how to say it.
Coseca, yeah.
Yeah, it means like crop number.
Yeah.
And then Nick Perdomo, actually, they're doing the 30th anniversary. He said, yeah, I've actually been planting this cigar for 12 years. Mm-hmm. So that means like the planting of the seeds and all that started 12 years ago.
Right, decade and a half ago.
Yeah.
They're like, this anniversary is coming up.
Yeah,
You need to start
in
planting.
15 years.
And that's the beauty of a grown product like this, right? So then the filler tobacco is bunched, and there's a couple of different methods for that. And then it is wrapped with a binder, and then that is put in a cigar mold and pressed. Typically, your pressed bound filler, is batched, like you're making a ton of it. It's not like you press it and then put the wrapper on it, right? And then the wrapper guys, they're pulling out of a stock of bound filler.
They're sort of based on color.
Yeah,
Wrapper leaves sorted based on color. So you should never get a bundle or a box that has a lot of different wrapper colors.
Yeah,
They should all be close to each other.
yeah. They're trying to make sure that everything matches.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the steps in the cigar making process. There's actually the creating the seed or hybridizing the seed or preserving the seed. There's the planting, the germination, the replanting or the repotting, and then the planting. Then there's the harvesting, then there's the curing, then there's the fermenting, then there's the bunching, then there's the wrapping, and you have your cigar. So big, long process, pretty cool. So touching back on this AJ Fernandez New World Dorado Robusto 5.5 by 52, has your flavor changed much at all?
Not a whole lot. Just like in the beginning, we got like a small taste of kind of all the flavors, but some were more dominant than others, and now other ones are taking the forefront. I think the spice is taking a little more forefront for me.
Yeah.
A little bit of the bitter. I think like a little bit of leather too is taking a bit of a forefront.
Yeah, I would agree. I think it's picked up in the pepper and strength category. Leather's kind of taken over, but there's still that salt. Like it's a salty cigar. It's very interesting. All right, so I think it is time to rank this cigar. We have a 50-point ranking system where we rank on a scale of 1 to 10 for 5 dynamics. And last week we had our highest ranked cigar on the show with the numero uno came in at a 47 out of 50. So
Damn.
Phenomenal score. That's not common, more around 39, 40.
Yeah.
It's kind of typical. So we start with presentation. Nick, what do you think about the presentation of this New World Dorado?
This one's cool. They did a good job. I liked it a lot. I don't like the regular line New World packaging, so this was definitely an upgrade. I give this an 8 for the presentation.
I've got it as an 8 as well. It's really good presentation. The only thing that kind of keeps it from being a 9 for me is I think the packaging is a little overdone for the price point.
Yeah.
This looks like how you would package a $20-$30 cigar.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it might have scored higher, but solid 8 on presentation. And how about price or value? Coming in at $12.50 a stick.
I also think the value of the cigar is pretty good. It's a little more expensive than the regular New World line. I think, like you alluded to earlier, but it's definitely an upgrade in terms of quality and taste. So I'll give this an 8 as well.
8 on price and value.
It's not a steal.
It's not a steal. I've got it at a 7, and main reason for that is it is part of the New World line, and it's more expensive than the other ones. I think that's a little bit of a turnoff going through the humidor. Of course, it's new. It's an AJ product, so I'm going to try it anyway. And of course, we don't do decimals, so that comes out as an 8. How about construction?
Ooh, construction was good. I think the draw was good. The cap stayed on. There was none of that. You like to talk about the part of the cap that comes up and you have to kind of lick down the whole time. I didn't have any of that. Not perfect. 8, but still good.
8 on construction from Nick. Yeah, so my burn line is okay. There's one spot here where it looks like there's a vein in the binder leaf that has caused the burn, to get uneven. You can see that. Problem with that is that can turn into a side tunnel. But the overall construction, really good. Wrapper has held on great. The draw was good. It was a little loose in the beginning. It's about where I like it now. Cap was perfect. No issues there. I'm going to give this an 8 as well on construction. And now let's talk about flavor. Nick, what are you thinking on flavor?
Ooh. It started off great, right? That like, if you don't get that, like you said, if you toast it properly, but you don't get that good first couple draws, like you're gonna be in for a bumpy ride. But this one gave all the signs right from the beginning that it was gonna be good in flavor. It stayed consistent. It's changed up a little bit through the thirds. I'm just rocking the 8s. I'm gonna give it another 8.
8 on flavor for Nick. Yeah, so here's what I like about the flavor. First of all, it's different. There's a lot of cigars in the humidor. I've smoked a lot of them. When I smoke a cigar and I'm like, hey, this hits different. That's a little special. I think that this could pair really well with a bourbon or a sweeter, whiskey. I don't think that it is a cigar that you can use for a lot of different occasions, right? I think this is more of a pay attention to the cigar type of smoke.
Yeah.
Great smoke output. I like how the flavor changes, like through the different parts of, tasting the smoke. Like taking it in and out is a different experience. The retrohale adds a ton of dynamic. So I've given that an 8 as well. And our most subjective and most important dynamic, the experience. Nick, what do you have?
Generally, I think this is an above average cigar, and it's an above average experience. I personally liked it a good deal. I'll give it a 9.
A 9 in experience from Nick. So I've got a 7 on experience. Definitely an enjoyable smoke. I think that people who've been smoking for a while are going to enjoy it because it is different. That salty flavor, especially, is fairly uncommon in the humidor. Couple of things that knocked it down for me. I think the first is the limited use case for it. I might smoke it in the lounge. I would definitely smoke it like if I wanted to pay attention to it.
Right.
I don't think I would combine it with any activity.
Nope.
I don't think it's a back porch or grilling meats type of
Definitely not
type of cigar. I think this is a sit down and smoke it, pay attention to it.
Yep.
Type of cigar. So that comes out as an 8, and the total score for the AJ Fernandez New World Dorado Robusto is 40. Pretty good score.
Above average.
Yeah, definitely. So I think we've only had 3 cigars in the 40s.
Yeah.
And this is one of them. So pretty good showing for it. So for all of you guys out there in the interwebs, don't forget to drop us an email, burnlinepodcast@gmail.com. Let us know what you think. Is it box press, boxed press, or box pressed? Or any other commentary you might have. If you have a question or a comment, please drop us a line. And follow us on the socials at Burnline Podcast, including the new Threads app, which is kind of hot garbage, but we're going to do it because it's out there. So I think they were just like, Twitter's dying. Put something out there quick.
Zuckerberg's made a career out of copying other people's.
Yeah. And that is all that we have for this week. So thanks for joining us. As always, on Burnline Podcast, we will see you again next week. Goodbye, everybody.